Greetings and welcome to Neighborhood Beat. Today's show looks at Native Americans in Maryland. What are their characteristics? What are they doing? How are they working in our communities? Our guest today is Mr. Keith Colston, who's administrator of the Governor's Commission on Indian Affairs. Keith, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First of all, for those of our viewers who are unfamiliar, could you tell us a little bit about the Governor's Commission on Indian Affairs?
Yes, the commission was established in 1976, and since that time, its inception, we made quite a few changes, and also locations as well. You know, before we were with the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, we were with the Department of Human Resources. So now being elevated to where we're at now, there's a lot more that can be done, a lot that has taken place, and we're looking for far more to be done as well.
Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you. What's your background and responsibilities? I guess as administrator, you make everything work, right?
Well, I'm part of a group that, of course, assists in everything that takes place. My background, of course, being from North Carolina, I'm of the Tuscarora and Lumbee tribes, which are not indigenous to the state of Maryland. And that's a part of the teaching and education. That's a part of what we want to do, is educate mainstream society and also our own people about who we are, you know, what we're doing, and where we want to be as far as Marylanders here in the state. With the commission, its mandate really is about education. It's about also repatriation and, of course, state recognition for its indigenous groups.
Tuscarora and Lumbee, those are probably names of tribes that most Americans are not familiar with. Could you tell us a little bit more about those?
Well, as far as Tuscaroras, you probably have heard more so about the Iroquois Confederacy or the Six Nations.
The Iroquois, yes.
Right, and we know that, of course, there are some of the individuals who helped bring about democracy for the rest of mainstream society, or what democracy began in this great country. We know that the Lumbees are the largest tribe east of the Mississippi, and they've made a lot of news, and of course, with trying to reach full federal status or federal recognition. Here in the state of Maryland, we, of course, the commission is working on state recognition for its indigenous groups.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I know that there are a lot of different programs that affect Native Americans, but the government is very, very careful in making sure that a Native American tribe is actually a tribe.
Right, and there's steps, there's processes, there's a procedure that is in place, not only here within the state of Maryland, but in other states as well, and there are tribal groups who have received state recognition. It's a mandate where tribal affiliation, community involvement, a connection between historical times and modern day times. Those are just a few of the parts of the procedure that when a person, or I'm sorry, a group will petition for state recognition here in the state, that they'll go through. And it's, of course, what the commission was established for, to provide and aid in state and whatever we could do also in reference to its attempts for federal recognition as well.
All right. Now, Governor's Commission on Indian Affairs. For a lot of us, the word Indian is not something that is, how can I say it, politically correct. Well, how did that come about?
Well, I always refer to it as a misnomer, exactly what it is. A lot of times people are taught that Christopher Columbus, you know, he got, well, for us, he got lost. And of course, it said that, you know, he made his way and thought he was an Indian. A lot of times, if we if we understand history and know history, we know that there's no way he could have said Indian because he didn't speak English at the time. So to say that Christopher Columbus thought he was in India and that's why he called us Indians, really isn't factual as it should be. For us as natives, we like to refer to ourselves first and foremost as our tribal groups, our tribal affiliations: Tuscarora, Lumbee, Piscataway, Accahannock, Nasuewash, Shawnees of Garrett County. These are all the terminologies for our groups and for our tribes, whether they be state recognized, federally recognized, or self-identified. With society, we know that they like to refer to us as Native Americans, American Indians, the indigenous peoples of North America. So, once again, terminology depending upon who you speak with.
Right, right, right. Let's talk about the characteristics of Native Americans in Maryland. I know that varies considerably by area. And I know that, as I mentioned to you earlier, before the show, a lot of folks don't really know much about Native Americans in Maryland. How many are there? for
Well, to
example?
answer that question, factually, there's over 17,000 that identify as being Native American, American Indian.
17,000 in
Only,
Maryland.
over 17,000.
Wow.
And we're looking for that number, of course, to increase with the 2010 census that was just that's taking place and will be concluded. And we're looking forward to all of that data being shared, not only here in the state of Maryland, but across the country. And we have over 40,000 that will recognize themselves as being Native and other. So, of course, we count those numbers as well.
So mixed
Exactly.
mixed race. Where are the 17 or 40,000 located in Maryland?
Baltimore City, Baltimore County, when you combine those numbers, at times people do, you've got over 5,300. You've then got, of course, in Montgomery County and Prince George County would be the next largest populations. You then have the Eastern Shore because you have about 4 different groups that are located, as we call them, the Eastern Shore tribes. The Accohonic, the Pocomoke, the Assateague, and the Nasu-Wawash. In the southern Maryland area, as we refer to it as, you have probably you've got 3 different groups. You've got the Piscataway Indian Nation, the Piscataway Conoy, and the Cedarville Band of Piscataway. And then in the western part of the state, the Shawnee of Garrett County.
How much are Native Americans in their housing, in their employment, integrated with the rest of Marylanders?
Very much just like anyone else. There are no reservations as society thinks of reservations, land set aside by the federal government. There's not that situation that takes place here in the state of Maryland. So when you talk about living conditions, work environment, things of that nature, we saw in comparison to any other Marylander that's here. Sometimes people have a stereotype of how we live, how we dress, the way that we look, all of these things. And once again, being a stereotype, a misbelief or something that's just not correct.
Right, right. Yeah, Native Americans look like every other kind of American.
Well, I mean, in reference to what we just talked about. Now, there are those physical characteristics, and I always tell people, don't get caught up in the